There are moments in life when a woman quietly wonders, is God truly with me? Am I seen by Him? Am I walking in His favor? Or am I merely surviving? These questions do not come from weakness. They come from spiritual sensitivity. When God places His hand upon a woman's life, it is not always announced with thunder or applause. Often, it is revealed through subtle signs, divine alignments, inner transformations, and supernatural strength that cannot be explained by circumstances alone. To be blessed by God does not mean life is free from pain, struggle, or opposition. In fact, many women who are deeply blessed walk through seasons that test their faith, stretch their patience, and refine their character. But the blessing of God is not defined by what happens around you. It is revealed by what is happening within you and through you. A woman blessed by God carries something that cannot be taken away by rejection, delay, or disappointment. She may face storms, but she is never without direction. She may weep at night, but she rises with purpose. God's blessing on a woman is not fragile. It is fortified by His word, His Spirit, and His divine plan. When God blesses a woman, He does not merely add things to her life. He transforms her nature, her mindset, her capacity, and her destiny. And there are unmistakable signs that reveal when a woman is living under God's blessing. One of the clearest signs that a woman is blessed by God is the presence of inner peace that surpasses understanding. This peace does not come from everything going right. It comes from knowing that God is in control even when things appear uncertain. While others may panic, she remains calm. While others are overwhelmed by fear, she rests in faith. This peace is not denial of reality. It is confidence in God's sovereignty. A blessed woman may acknowledge the challenge, but she refuses to be ruled by anxiety. Her heart is anchored in trust. She understands that God is not confused about her life, her future, or her path. Even when answers are delayed, her spirit remains settled because she knows that delay is not denial when God is involved. This peace becomes her strength. It guards her heart against bitterness and protects her mind from fear. She does not need constant reassurance from people because her assurance comes from God. She may be misunderstood, criticized, or underestimated, but she does not lose her identity. The peace within her speaks louder than the noise around her. It is evidence that God has taken residence in her heart. No matter the storm, she knows she will not sink because God does not abandon what He has blessed. Another powerful sign that a woman is blessed by God is her resilience. Blessed women do not break easily. They bend, they adapt, they grow, and they rise again. Life may attempt to knock them down, but something within them refuses to stay defeated. This resilience is not stubbornness. It is divine strength working through human weakness. When a woman is blessed by God, she develops an unusual capacity to endure, to recover, and to move forward even when the odds are against her. She may have experienced loss, betrayal, disappointment, or failure, yet she is still standing. Not because she is naturally strong, but because God strengthens her from within. Her resilience is evidence that she's being upheld by power greater than herself. Every setback becomes a setup for growth. Every wound becomes a place where God pours healing and wisdom. She does not emerge from trials empty. She emerges refined, wiser, and more compassionate. This resilience shapes her character. It teaches her patience, humility, and dependence on God. She learns that she does not need to control everything because God is directing her steps. Even when the path is unclear, she continues moving forward in faith. Her story becomes a testimony. Not because she avoided hardship, but because she overcame it through God's grace. A third sign that a woman is blessed by God is her spiritual sensitivity and hunger for truth. She is drawn to God's presence, not out of obligation, but out of desire. She seeks wisdom, understanding, and spiritual growth. She does not settle for shallow faith or surface level belief. There is a hunger in her spirit to know God more deeply and to align her life with His will. This hunger influences her choices. She becomes more discerning about what she allows into her mind, her heart, and her environment. She is not easily swayed by trends, pressure, or opinions that conflict with her values. She understands that not everything that looks good is God approved. Her sensitivity allows her to recognize when God is leading her, warning her, or redirecting her. She learns to listen, to wait, and to obey. Because of this spiritual awareness, she grows in wisdom. She learns when to speak and when to remain silent, when to act and when to wait. She begins to see life from God's perspective rather than reacting emotionally to every situation. This spiritual depth becomes a source of strength for others. People may come to her for advice, encouragement, or prayer, not because she claims to have all the answers, but because they sense God's presence in her life. Another undeniable sign that a woman is blessed by God is the way she carries love, compassion, and forgiveness, even when she has every reason to be bitter. Blessed women do not allow pain to harden their hearts. Instead, they allow God to soften them through grace. They understand that forgiveness is not weakness, it is freedom. They release offenses not because the offender deserves it, but because their peace is too valuable to sacrifice. This ability to love deeply is a mark of God's blessing. She loves without manipulation. She gives without keeping score. She shows kindness even when it is not returned. Her compassion is not selective. It flows naturally because it is rooted in God's love working through her. She understands that she is blessed not just to receive, but to be a blessing. Her love becomes healing. Her words bring comfort. Her presence brings calm. She does not need to announce her faith. It is evident in the way she treats people. Even in correction, she is gentle. Even in disagreement, she remains respectful. This does not mean she allows herself to be mistreated. It means she chooses grace over resentment. That choice reveals a heart that has been transformed by God. The fifth sign that a woman is blessed by God is that her life carries purpose beyond herself. She knows she is not here by accident. Even if she does not yet fully understand her calling, she senses that her life matters and that her existence has meaning. She refuses to live aimlessly or settle for mediocrity. There is a divine pull within her that draws her toward growth, contribution, and impact. This sense of purpose influences how she views her time, her talents, and her relationships. She becomes intentional. She invests in what builds her and off. She is willing to let go of relationships, habits, or environments that hinder her growth. She understands that God's blessing is not just about comfort. It is about assignment. Even in seasons of waiting, she remains faithful. She serves, learns, prepares, and trusts that God's timing is perfect. She does not rush the process because she knows that preparation is part of the blessing. When opportunities come, she is ready. Not because she is perfect, but because she has been shaped by God's hand. A woman blessed by God may not always recognize her blessing in the moment, but over time, she sees how every season was necessary. She realizes that God was protecting her when things did not work out, redirecting her when doors closed, and strengthening her when she felt weak. Her gratitude grows as she looks back and sees God's faithfulness woven through her story. If you see these signs in your life, understand this truth: God has His hand upon you. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are not overlooked. You are being guided, shaped, and prepared. Your blessing is not something you must chase. It is something you steward. Walk in humility, remain faithful, and trust that the God who began a good work in you will complete it. She learns over time that being blessed by God does not remove responsibility, it increases it. A blessed woman becomes aware that her words carry weight, her actions leave impressions, and her decisions shape outcomes beyond what she can immediately see. She grows more mindful of how she speaks about herself, about others, and about her future. She no longer casually declares defeat, lack, or fear, because she understands that life and direction follow the words she entertains and releases. Her speech becomes seasoned with faith, hope, and wisdom, not because she is pretending everything is perfect, but because she believes God is actively working in what is imperfect. This awareness also changes how she views challenges. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" she begins to ask, "What is this teaching me?" She recognizes that God often uses pressure to produce maturity and uses discomfort to birth clarity. What once felt like punishment begins to look like preparation. What once felt like delay begins to look like divine timing. She understands that God is more interested in shaping her character than simply changing her circumstances. As she matures, she stops comparing her journey to that of others. She realizes that comparison robs her of joy and distracts her from her unique assignment. She may admire others, learn from them, and celebrate their victories, but she no longer measures her worth by someone else's timeline. She understands that God writes individual stories and no two callings unfold the same way. This freedom from comparison is another quiet but powerful sign of blessing. She is content where she is, yet still motivated to grow. She is patient without becoming passive, expectant without becoming anxious. A blessed woman also develops discernment in relationships. She becomes careful about who has access to her heart, her mind, and her dreams. This does not make her cold or distant. It makes her wise. She understands that not everyone who is friendly is assigned to journey with her. Some people are meant to pass through her life, not stay forever. She learns to release connections without hatred and to set boundaries without guilt. This clarity protects her peace and preserves her purpose. When God blesses a woman, He teaches her the value of solitude. She learns that being alone is not the same as being lonely. There are seasons when God intentionally separates her, not to isolate her, but to strengthen her. In quiet moments, she hears God more clearly. In stillness, she gains direction. She no longer fears silence because she has discovered that some of the greatest revelations come when distractions are removed. This comfort with solitude allows her to stand strong, even when support is limited. Her confidence begins to rest not in outward validation, but in inward assurance. She does not need constant praise to feel secure, nor does she crumble under criticism. She knows who she is becoming, even if others do not yet see it. This confidence is not arrogance, it is identity rooted in God. She understands that her worth is not up for debate because it was established by her Creator. This inner stability allows her to walk into rooms without shrinking and to leave rooms without resentment. A woman blessed by God also experiences growth in gratitude. She learns to appreciate small victories, quiet progress, and unseen blessings. She no longer waits for everything to be perfect before giving thanks. Gratitude becomes her posture, not her reaction. Even in seasons of lack, she recognizes provision. Even in seasons of uncertainty, she recognizes protection. This grateful heart attracts peace and sustains joy. Over time, she becomes a woman who inspires others without trying to impress them. Her life speaks. Her consistency speaks. Her faith in adversity speaks. People notice her strength not because she announces it, but because it is evident in how she handles pressure. They see her patience, her kindness, her perseverance, and they sense that there is something different about her. That difference is not personality, it is grace at work. She understands that being blessed does not mean being perfect. She still grows, learns, repents, and improves. She makes mistakes, but she does not stay condemned by them. She receives correction without becoming defensive and accepts instruction without feeling diminished. She understands that growth requires humility. God's blessing keeps her teachable, not untouchable. As her journey continues, she becomes more focused on legacy than on recognition. She thinks about the impact she is leaving, the life she is influencing, and the example she is setting. She wants her life to reflect faithfulness more than fame, obedience more than applause. This eternal perspective shapes her priorities. She chooses depth over popularity and purpose over convenience. Even when she does not have all the answers, she trusts the one who does. Even when the road ahead is unclear, she keeps walking. She understands that faith is not about seeing the whole path. It is about taking the next step with confidence that God is guiding her. This trust keeps her moving forward, growing stronger, and becoming more aligned with God's plan for her life. She becomes increasingly aware that God's blessing on her life is not seasonal or situational. It is covenantal. It is not turned on and off by emotions, failures, or opinions. This realization frees her from striving to earn what has already been given by grace. She no longer lives in fear of losing God's favor over every mistake, because she understands that God corrects his children, not abandons them. This security deepens her faith and strengthens her relationship with God, allowing her to approach him with honesty rather than pretense. As this understanding grows, her prayer life evolves. She no longer prays only out of desperation, but out of intimacy. Her conversations with God become more sincere, more reflective, and more aligned with his will. She learns to listen as much as she speaks. She begins to recognize when God is leading her to wait, to move, to let go, or to prepare. Prayer becomes less about changing God's mind and more about aligning her heart with his purpose. This alignment shapes her emotional healing. She becomes more self-aware and less reactive. Instead of being controlled by mood swings or impulsive decisions, she learns to pause, reflect, and respond with wisdom. She understands that emotions are indicators, not dictators. When she feels hurt, she acknowledges it. When she feels fear, she brings it to God. When she feels joy, she expresses gratitude. This emotional maturity is a sign of blessing because it reflects inner healing and spiritual growth. A blessed woman also develops patience in the waiting seasons. She may not enjoy waiting, but she learns not to waste it. She uses seasons of stillness to grow, to learn, and to prepare. She understands that waiting is not inactivity. It is often where God does some of his deepest work. While others rush ahead and stumble, she remains grounded, trusting that what God has promised will arrive at the appointed time. Her relationship with time changes as well. She stops rushing her life as if she is behind. She understands that God is eternal and never late. This frees her from pressure and anxiety. She begins to live more fully in the present, stewarding each day with intention. She works diligently, rests intentionally, and trusts completely. Balance becomes part of her blessing. She also becomes more compassionate toward herself. She stops being her own harshest critic. She recognizes that growth is a process, not a performance. She allows herself room to learn, to heal, and to evolve. This self-compassion does not lead to complacency, it leads to sustainability. She understands that God's grace covers her journey, not just her destination. As her confidence in God deepens, she becomes less intimidated by challenges and more expectant of victory. This does not mean she assumes everything will be easy, but she believes that every challenge carries an opportunity for God to reveal his power. She approaches all obstacles with faith instead of fear. Even when she does not know how things will work out, she believes they will. Her sense of identity becomes firmly rooted. She knows she is more than her roles, her achievements, or her past. She's not defined by what she lacks or what she has lost. She is defined by who God says she is. This identity gives her courage to walk away from environments that diminish her and to step into spaces that stretch her. She no longer shrinks to fit into places that cannot contain her growth. A woman blessed by God also learns the power of obedience, even when it is inconvenient or misunderstood. She trusts that obedience protects her future, even when it challenges her present. She may not always understand why God is asking her to move in a certain direction, but she trusts his wisdom. This obedience positions her for favor that cannot be manufactured by human effort. Her faith becomes practical. It shows up in her work ethic, her integrity, and her consistency. She does not separate her spiritual life from her daily responsibilities. She carries excellence into everything she does, understanding that she represents God in both public and private moments. This excellence opens doors and builds trust, not because she is trying to impress, but because she is committed to honoring God through her life. She becomes a woman who can stand alone if necessary, yet walk with others in unity. She does not fear independence, nor does she idolize it. She values connection, but she does not depend on people for validation. This balance gives her strength. She is not easily swayed, easily discouraged, or easily distracted. As her journey unfolds, she continues to grow, to learn, and to become more aligned with God's purpose. She understands that blessing is not a destination she arrives at, but a life she lives in partnership with God. And with every step forward, she carries quiet confidence, deep faith, and unwavering trust that her life is unfolding exactly as it should under God's divine guidance. In the end, being a woman blessed by God is not about having a flawless life or a smooth journey. It is about carrying God's presence, purpose, and power within you through every season. It is seen in your peace when circumstances are uncertain, your strength when pressure increases, your compassion when the world expects bitterness, and your faith when the outcome is not yet visible. These signs are not loud, but they are lasting. They reveal a life that is being guided, sustained, and transformed by God's hand. If you recognize these signs within yourself, walk in them with humility and gratitude. Do not doubt what God has already placed inside you. Remain faithful in the small moments, patient in the waiting seasons, and courageous in the face of challenges. Trust that God is continually working, shaping you, and leading you forward. Your life is not ordinary, it is divinely touched. And as you continue to walk in faith, obedience, and love, you will discover that the greatest blessing is not just what God does for you, but who you are becoming through Him.